Hey guys, good morning. I am going to talk about chapter 6 today in the depression cure. It's called Antidepressant Exercise. And I love this one because I've always loved exercising. I'm a believer in exercise. I know the good that comes from exercise. And it was an interesting chapter to me, and it resonated with me a ton. So he starts off by talking about a lady that was pretty old. She didn't think she'd ever be healed from depression. She tried medication, she tried therapies, and she just still didn't feel well. And she saw an ad for this therapy, TLC, in her local paper. So she decided to give it a try. And one thing that she noticed is that she did like walking, and she felt better when she'd walk. And so when the doctor already talked to her about exercise and how that's a really huge part of managing depression, she's like, well, can walking really make a difference? And he said it can make a difference if you do it long enough and you get your heart rate up. And so she started exercising more frequently. She's with a friend. She had a trainer that she started exercising with, and it did make a difference. And after a few months, 3 months, she said, I feel like I'm 99% depression free. So for her, exercise made the biggest difference. But there is a dilemma with our exercise. Like, we all know that exercise is good for us. We all know that we want to be in shape, and we all feel like that's important, but why is it so hard to do it? Well, our hunter-gatherer ancestors didn't have to exercise because their lifestyle was active. So if they went on a run after their days of hunting and gathering, like, they were depleting themselves of important nutrition. And so they were wired to spend your energy only on activities that have a clear purpose. And we're wired the same way. We don't want to spend our time on activities. Like, have you ever had that thought when you get on a treadmill, like, oh, I don't really want to do this, I'm not going anywhere? I mean, I prefer running outside because I have a destination, right? But it's true, our brains are wired that way, that there really needs to be a reason for doing it, and it has to be a good reason, enough for us to do it. We all know that there's a lot of benefits with exercise. I mean, doctors have been telling us for years that if we exercise and increase our physical activity, it's going to lower our blood pressure, boost our immune function, get greater bone density, we'll live longer, we'll have less chance of heart disease, diabetes, obesity. And even though we know all this, though, why don't we do it? So we're going to be talking about a better way today in this chapter. One of his mentors, when he was Dr. Alardi's mentors, did this study in the 1990s about depression and how exercise related to depression. And he actually had 156 patients, and some of them were assigned to Zoloft, a commonly used prescription antidepressant, and some of them were assigned to exercise. And it wasn't grueling, it wasn't hours and hours of exercise, it was just a brisk half-hour walk 3 times a week. And after his study, it says the 2 treatments worked out equally well for the first few months, but by 10 months into the study, the exercisers were much more likely than those taking Zoloft to remain depression-free. And this study wasn't a fluke. Over a dozen clinical trials now show that exercise can effectively treat depression. So how does it work? Exercise changes the brain. Like, it just does. It stimulates the brain's release of the growth hormone BDNF. It helps to reverse toxins, the brain-damaging effects of depression. It sharpens our memory, concentration. It helps us think more clearly. Exercise is medicine. And it helps us sleep better. I know when I exercise, I sleep so much better too. So we might ask, what good is it to know about all these benefits if we still can't bring ourselves to exercise? I mean, some people, can't stand exercising. Like, they're just not wired to exercise. But there is a way out. And let's see. What about necessary exercise? So he shared a story about this grandma that was really unwell, and she would sit in her chair all day, and they couldn't get her up walking. They couldn't get her to walk her dog, nothing. But then one day they were like, well, we're going to the mall. And the grandma liked to shop when she was younger, and so she went to the mall, and she walked for like miles. And because she liked the mall, she liked the atmosphere, she liked being there, and that was what helped her. So finding something that you like and that is a different tactic than what you're used to. So you might say, well, I just can't get on that treadmill. But when we are caught up in meaningful, enjoyable ways to exercise, then our tolerance for it dramatically increases. So make the workouts engaging as possible. There's a health coach, a PE teacher at a school, and he has this health program for his kids in his school, and there's tons that show up, and you might think that's weird that kids are showing up to school to like exercise, but what they've done is they've hooked up like a gaming system to a bike, and in order for the gaming system to work, they have to ride the bike, and they love it. Or they've even played simple games like tag that you play as a kid. Another thing they've done is like revolution dance. You're dancing, playing this game, but it's super fun and you're engaged with other people and they don't even realize they're exercising. So time really flies when we're caught up in something enjoyable, that's for sure. So there's a few steps that are important when you're exercising. Number one, make it aerobic. So you want to be able to get your heart rate up between 60 and 90%. Your pulse up between 60 and 90%, your maximum heart rate. You can estimate this maximum, the greatest number of times your heart could possibly beat in a minute with a formula, and that's 220 minus your age. So, take your pulse or get a heart rate monitor and try to stay in that zone for 30 minutes. And then number two, choose an activity. And this is the tricky one for some people because some people, it's just hard to exercise, right? So I find I really like kickboxing. I think it's a lot of fun and the time goes by fast for me. I also like running. It's hard when I haven't been running and I'm out of shape, but I do like running. But choosing an activity, for the vast majority of humans until the advent of the automobile, people walked a lot. So if you can't think of an activity, just start with walking. And walking really does work. In fact, if you're walking 35 minutes a day, because like the first 5 you'd count as kind of a warm-up time, if you're walking 35 minutes 3 days a week, you're going to notice significant changes. Enough to get your heart rate up. So it can't just be like a leisurely stroll, something slow, enough of a brisk pace to get your heart rate up. You're going to notice a difference. So he suggests that you consider walking as a place to begin your antidepressant workout routine. So this is not a one-size-fits-all recommendation. For example, some people can't walk due to injury or illness. He has a paraplegic friend that actually would do some kayaking or wheelchair racing. So there are other options if walking is not an option. The most important thing is to find an activity that you're going to stick to and that you'll love doing, because once you find a workout that you love or some type of exercise that's enjoyable for you, you're more likely to stick with it. The third thing to do is determine how much, how long, and how often. And I've already kind of given this away. So the best research suggests that 90 minutes of aerobic activity each week is enough to provide an antidepressant effect. So that's the weekly target. If you're just starting off, shoot for 3 days a week, 35 minutes each. And that first 5 minutes is kind of a warm-up. So splitting up your exercises. Don't just like pound an hour in 2 days a week. Like that's a lot, especially if you're first starting out. And eventually if that's too much for you to start out with 30 minutes, start with 10 or 5 and then build up. Just get out there and start moving, get your heart rate up, and eventually you can build up and it will be awesome and you'll be able to notice a difference. And then number 4 is make it enjoyable. So how do you make exercise enjoyable? Well, some people are social exercisers. I like to run with my sister, my friends. I like to go on walks with them as well. So whenever it's possible, make it social. And this also hits one of the important things about depression is people, like engaging with people. So company is awesome. That makes it more enjoyable. Walking a dog also can be enjoyable. Make it absorbing. Sometimes it's not possible to exercise with someone else, but there's other ways to make it absorbing. For example, finding your favorite music. I've listened to podcasts, something that's upbeat and will keep you going. So if you're exercising by yourself, find something that will keep you engaged. You don't always have to, though. There was a long time that I didn't like to listen to anything because it was kind of a time for me to clear my thoughts and to think. But you have to be careful because you don't want to start ruminating either. So find something that will make it enjoyable for you if you're alone. Listening to audiobooks, stuff like that. So, pardon me for my pause. I just lost my place. Oh yeah, one more thing about making it absorbing. Nature itself has a way of just pulling you in. So if you have the opportunity to go hiking, get up in the mountains, that is a really great place to be because we can connect to nature, and that just will boost us in and of itself and make it purposeful. So for example, if you go to Disney World, like you're walking an average of 7 miles a day, but that's not something that you're going to keep doing because at Disney World there's so much to do and see and stop and enjoy. So you have to make it purposeful. So for the next time you go on an aerobic walk, you might want to choose a destination that matters to you. Like you might want to walk to a place, or maybe just the fact that you want to change your mood can be purpose enough. And that's what Dr. Larry has said, that when viewed in this light, each stride you take can literally be seen as another step on the path of recovery. I love that. Just knowing that what exercise is doing for our minds and for our bodies can be enough for some people. Fifth, create a schedule. It's so important to have a schedule. I know when I wake up with the intention to work out, but I haven't planned it into my day, it doesn't happen. So make sure you have a schedule. Set aside an hour, even though your workout's only going to be about 35 minutes. You want to set aside a good hour because you might need a shower, you might need to drive somewhere. So just kind of plan that into your day. Create a routine whenever possible because habits are hard to break. And then space things out. It's best to space out the exercise evenly over the week. That means usually taking a day off in between your workouts. Give your body time to recover, and then avoid ending late. When we exercise late at night, it can bring a powerful adrenaline rush, and so that's harder to fall asleep for our bodies. So as a rule of thumb, you want to finish your workout at least 2 hours before you go to bed. So just take a moment now to schedule out your blocks, 3 blocks of time throughout the week that you are going to set aside to exercise, to get your heart rate up. 6, make your workout specific but flexible. So after you've first completed the workouts, take a few minutes to reflect on how it went. And remember, your goal is to exercise to be somewhat enjoyable. So if the pleasure of exercising tends to increase for most people over time, you should find at least some enjoyment from your workouts. If you don't, it's important to incorporate something that's going to be enjoyable. So figure it out. Like, you. So what is it that's going to help you? Is it going to be an audiobook? Is it going to be a podcast? Is it going to be finding someone to exercise with? What's going to help you make it more enjoyable? And then 7th, be accountable. And this one's huge. It's really a big deal to have an accountability partner. Someone, like if you're going to hire a trainer or a health coach or a good friend, just somebody that you can be accountable with. The biggest single obstacle to working out, especially for those battling depression, is simply to overcome the profound sense of inertia that sets in when we're inactive. Virtually every patient I've worked with has told me that they enjoy exercising once they're doing it, but they lack the motivation to get started. So reducing initiative is also a hallmark of depression. The depression brain has an impaired ability to initiate activities. It's so important to have someone to give us the nudge to get us off, to get people off the couch. If you're struggling with that, if you don't have someone in your life right now that could be a workout partner or buddy, you could get a personal trainer or someone that doesn't even work out with you. It just could be someone willing to check in with you, a good friend, a trusted family member, a therapist, a nurse, a coworker. Even if it's a little scary to ask for help, it can be really worth it. And if any of you in the reach of my voice need an accountability partner, I will be happy to check in with you. I know how important it is to have that support and to have accountability and that inspiration. So reach out to me if you need me to check in on you. 3 days a week, that's what we're shooting for. As we've seen, our bodies are designed for a high level of physical activity, and exercise is extraordinary. It's important for maintaining both physical and mental health. Aerobic exercise is the most potent antidepressant activity ever discovered. Did you hear that? The most potent antidepressant ever discovered. Physical activity even has mood-elevating effects that can usually be felt in a matter of minutes. And one personal trainer said, I've never seen someone leave the gym in a worse mood than they arrived. I mean, isn't that true? For those of you that exercise, like, how do you feel once it's done? Sometimes it's hard to start. It's hard to get going. But man, once you're done, it feels so good. So take that first step, guys. If you're in a place where you're not exercising, make a plan, schedule a routine, figure something out, even if it's starting with 10 minutes a day, and then build up. You guys, that's it. I'm actually going to go exercise right now. So I'm going to turn this off and go get that done. I'm doing a little cardio with weights today, and I'm excited because I need it. So I'd love to hear what your favorite forms of exercise are. What do you do that you have found enjoyable? And if you're watching a replay, drop that in the comments. And thanks for being on. I hope that this is bringing value to you. It's hard to tell when there's not engagement. So if you're liking it, please like it and comment what you liked about it, what you do for exercise. I know Mr. Vaughn liked Zumba. That's awesome. Zumba is so much fun, and it's a social activity. So thanks for being on, guys. And next week, let there be light. We're going to be talking about light and the effects of light for our brains and bodies. So see you then.